Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 47 of the What the Sheep podcast, where myself and Kierley are going to be discussing and breaking down and definitely freaking out over Critical Role Campaign 2 episode 138. There was quite a lot to freak out about over this episode, to say the very least.
Fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. This one was yeah. Actually, yeah. You're right. Thinking about it now, I don't think did anything actually really happen in this episode?
No, and yeah, I don't think there's anything left to wrap up. It's all done. It's good.
Yeah, seems to be totally fine. But before we get into the I was gonna say before we get into the nitty gritty of this episode, the nitty gritty starts off right away in this episode. Like this whole episode was just a nonstop, cluster truck of stuff going on. Starting off with the encounter with Kree, and as Annika is already pointing out in chat, she is very mad about what happened with Kree. As am I. But it was still cool. But let's break down this fight a little bit. 8 versus 1. Already terrible odds for Kree. But not only was it 8 versus 1, Kree also went last.
Yeah.
Oh, not good.
It reminded me that Kree was in the same position essentially as the Nine, as in this was all new to her as well. Like, as in she hadn't been to the city before. She's just a mortal. She's not like imbued. She's not. Yeah, she's just a follower. And so she was also like, she didn't know, she couldn't like make monsters out of the flesh or anything. She was just, and so I felt pretty bad for her at the end there.
Yeah, it felt kind of heartbreaking towards the end there, because I felt bad, for Kree, just because of the odds were just so heavily stacked against her. But when she knew she was going to die and she was reaching out to the Nonagon, and Lucian was just like, I need you to just stall for a little bit longer. There was like a moment of realization that Kree had where it was like, wow, I am just another expendable pawn in Lucian's, grasp for power. Because it felt like I think Kree felt like she was on close to more equal terms with Lucian than the rest of the Tomb Takers. Like, maybe they had a closer bond. But when it came down to it, Lucian did not care what happened to Kree and was willing to sacrifice her for his own gains, which was pretty heartbreaking, especially for Kree, because it seems like she pretty much dedicated her whole life, or at least, the latter half of her life, to serving Lucian.
Yeah, it feels like an allegory to me, honestly. It feels like an allegory of Jester and Artigan, because like similar, that kind of like godlike powers, especially now he's Nonagon's in the city, but like godlike powers, complete devotion, but in the end, like, is there realistically, does he? I wonder, like, it doesn't feel like he cared for her really at all, because he just like reanimated her essentially and just used her. So but yeah, that fight was, it's interesting. It was still scary, but it was like the damage that the night, like, they're stacking their abilities really well, and it was, they put it down essentially.
Yeah, and can I just, I said this a little bit before stream, but Grave Clerics are so freaking, I don't want to say OP, but I also do want to say OP. They are just so ridiculously good at everything they do. Like, Paths to the Grave is just, oh my god, it's such a killer ability. Paths to the Grave itself did like almost like 200 damage. Like, well over 100 damage, like 150 damage, just because of like the damage amp, which is ridiculous for for just a simple little. Obviously, it's a channel divinity, so it's not a simple ability, but it's definitely a pretty hard hitting one when it works out.
It's pretty good. Is Grave Cleric's a Matt Mercer? Like, is it a Wild Mount
I don't
concoction?
think so. Maybe it is.
I would look it up, but I don't want to. Somebody would tell us.
Yeah, chat
Alana,
will yell at us.
Alana is not well today, so it looks kind of like I'm subbing in. But I wanted to come anyway. But I'm subbing in. I'm your substitute teacher for today. Which is funny because all three of us are substitute teachers.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I was gonna say that Taliesin loves a good Matt Mercer homebrew, which I don't think you can really call them homebrews once they're like in an actual book from Wizards of the Coast. But yeah, oh my goodness, I want to jump ever so slightly. Last week when they were like,
we'll make an exception for a jump ahead this one time. Yeah.
Not jump, just kind of
no worries.
Last week I was like, this makes so much sense. Taliesin's character, Caduceus, like, is a grave cleric, is the essentially like a doula but for death, like helps people die well and like looks after bodies once they're dead.
Yeah.
And this is just like this is a bunch of people that need to move on. And they got like the first person who talked to them was like, don't let them kill us, don't let them take us to oblivion. And then another person was like, no, we need to, like, this needs to end. So there's like within the Somnovan there's like this argument happening. But I was like, yes, he's perfect for this. This is what the Wild Mother has been bringing him to, this giant dead thing that needs to move on. And then he said it this episode, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law this is dark. This isn't that dark. Anyway, she's like she's an ICU nurse, and she's a hospice care nurse, and that's essentially her, like, good death is essentially her job. And that she has not the same vibe as Caduceus normally. Like, it's not like a hippy dippy vibe. Well, she is a bit like that, but not the same vibe. But she definitely has that, like, I'm gonna give this person the best effing death.
Yeah.
This is gonna be great. This is what I was born for. This is what's happening. And I love that. I'm so here for the moment that he gets to that he gets to, like, do that for the Wild Mother. I think that's going to be epic. Yeah. I think he's going to, like, transcend.
100%. And the stakes have never been higher for Caduceus in this sense, because not only, was he apprehensive to go on this journey when he returned home, way back a dozen or so episodes ago, but now him, along with Beth, Ford, and Essek, all have eyes now due to looking at the distorted, as Alana put it, Kree the Punished form of, formerly Kree. And speaking of Kree the Punished, that Alana wanted us to make note of, obviously harkens back to Oban, when Oban failed to deliver on Tharizdun. Tharizdun punished him in a very, grotesque manner. So it's kind of an interesting parallel, which could, lend to the Tharizdun theory that, Tharizdun is still behind all of this. Or this could just be,
we were talking about that off stream.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I think the Astral Sea is, like, potential. It's like all this, like, creation stuff and potential, sort of like pre Big Bang, or like just like matter.
Yeah.
Because Matt is really, really into, like, physics and metaphysics, and his brain is like
massive galaxy. His brain is the Astral Sea.
His brain is that 100%. So he Yeah, okay, so, but Tharizdun the god,
Yeah.
who is the reason why the gnolls at the start of this campaign were like crazy hungry,
Hmm.
and that like because they were worshippers of Tharizdun.
Hmm.
Anyway, and Molly knew about Tharizdun.
Yeah.
So that's weird. Tharizdun, yeah, made everything hungry, and the city has been, before they had actually gone there in their dreams, in like the visions they had of the city, it was like Matt called it like a hunger. And Tharizdun made their own, his own, I don't know, it's a god, um, plane. So
Hmm.
Tharizdun made the abyss, which is like a hell plane, but not one of the nine hell. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Tharizdun made that, and it sounds like the Somnovum sometimes when they've got their brains all working at the same time are trying to make. You said that before they called it like a proto plane
Yeah.
or something.
Proto realm. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to make a whole. They're trying to make a realm. They're trying to make another
Yeah.
like plane. Um, I just feel like they've maybe learnt some stuff off Tharizdun, or
Hmm.
Tharizdun's is actually behind it in the end. I don't know. Tharizdun was the one that was the Chained
Yep.
Oblivion. It's linked to Yasha's backstory.
Hmm.
It would be neat. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm obviously always on board the Tharizdun train. Um, but one thing I wanted to go back on this Kree fight. Some people in chat are saying not Kree the punished, Kree the sacrificed. That's what Jada's saying. Um, yeah, I mean it's it sucks that well, I say it sucks that Kree had to die because I wanted to learn more about Kree, and from what it seemed like, some of the other members of the party were like, should we actually kill her or should we do something? But obviously, the smart thing to do was to kill Kree. Um, but it doesn't make it any less um, rough because I feel like there was so much more that we could have learned from her, and she was such an interesting character, even with the little bit of information that we did know about her. So it's just a little heartbreaking that such an interesting character's life was cut short in such a tragic way, as we were talking a little bit about before, since Lucian doesn't give a hoot, and so it's a bit sad. But what is and people were talking about this in chat too. What is it with this book that gives people the eyes? Like, is it like malware? Like you open like an email on your computer and all of a sudden you got a virus. Like what is the deal with this book and specifically like the text within the books? It's the text. I don't think it's the physical book. It's the
The
symbols and
words,
the
yeah.
script that's on there. That's what is going on there. What do you think?
I wonder if it's ultimately actually almost a part of the Nonagon, like attached.
Mm,
Because they called him the Harbinger. Can I say about Kree though
yeah.
that I think that if this was Vox Machina, no one would be thinking twice about Kree being killed.
Hmm.
Like, but because Matt's done such a good job of building Grey into this
Hmm.
campaign, like morally grey, like we have Essek with us,
Yeah.
very morally, well, not morally grey, he's on a redemption arc, etc. But still, there's some things there that are unexamined, as well as like, Yasa's got some odd backstory. Like, there's moral
Yeah.
grayness essentially, and there's just the question of like why why people do what they do. And
Hmm.
so Kree was definitely uh like a follower, so she was like devoted
Yeah.
to the Nonagon, but also seeking, because of essentially seeking power,
Right.
and like because that gave her power. If this was Vox Machina, I think that would be like a black and white
Hmm.
situation. But because this is the Mighty Nine, it's like, well, that doesn't just write her off. That's like she had her own reasons and backstory, and it makes everyone want to go like, what else do you know? Or like, who were you? Who were you
Right.
when you were a kitten, Cree? Tell us more.
When you were a little kitty, a little baby kitty.
Yeah,
Aw.
but because yeah, but I think that's a testament to the gray Matt has built in, where every, like, except for some, you know, some notables like Trent,
Hmm.
every uh essentially every NPC we come across, everyone's like, yeah, but why?
Yeah.
They seem evil, but why?
Yeah.
What's their motivation?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And like you were
Um
saying, Matt has set that up brilliantly just because of all of the gray area that's been in this campaign. Now, every time there is like an evil person or a new NPC, we're always like, okay, but what are their motivations? Like, what do they really want? Because we haven't seen the whole picture on countless other people we've previously encountered, and suddenly, our opinions and thoughts of them have changed once we do realize what they're actually wanting to do. So it's it's great that Matt has created this this story where we have to pause and think about every single character when we encounter them because we don't really know what they want.
Yeah. And I have another idea about, yeah, about that with the city, but I'm out of practice with going canonically through the episode. Sorry.
Oh, no problem, no problem. We got the
We talked
notes.
about the book and how they all got
Yeah,
eyes.
yes. Um, so obviously they were able to swiftly defeat Kree in a trap. Now all I'm thinking about with Kree is a little kitty, a little baby kitten. Oh, now I'm even more sad that Kree's dead. Oh, I need
Choices.
kitten Kree fan art. I need baby Kree back before all this terrible stuff happened. Innocent Kree. That's what I need right now.
Did Lucian and Creed both come from Shady Creek? Because maybe they played together.
Oh, were they child?
That would be cute.
Oh my, this would make it even more tragic, but would then make sense as to why Kree maybe devoted herself to Lucian. They were like childhood friends. Maybe Lucian, protected Kree when they were younger against the other evil kids of Shady Creek Run, and so they grew up together. And oh no, ah! This is canon in my head because I love this tragic angst. I love it. So this is now canon in my head. Kree and
Oh my
Lucian were
goodness.
childhood friends. Oh my god, I'm so sad now.
I would look it up, but I don't want to break my thing. I think they at least knew each other for a long time.
Oh,
I'm gonna look it up.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad now.
People work
Poor
so hard on the wiki. I'm
Kree.
gonna check it out.
Poor Kree.
Um
Oh.
oh dear. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is a good this is a good headcanon to have. A good tragic headcanon. It just puts so much more emotional weight on that scene. So it was like in that moment where Lucian responds with, "Can you distract them a little bit longer? I'm not done yet." And then the hollow acceptance of what's about to happen and the breathing of Kree is just her fully realizing and looking back at all of the memories they've shared growing up together, thinking it's going to be them against the world. But when it really came down to it, Lucian Lucian wasn't there for her. Let her die for his own gain. Oh, fuck you, Lucian. Fuck you. I
Oh,
hate
that's
him.
right. Kree and Lucian were both part of that, like, blood order. There was like a thing. I don't
Hmm.
think we have a name for it, but there was a group and they were both part of it. And then the wiki says Lucian believed that the order was clouded in their thinking and wanted to seek a different path. And he broke off and made,
Mm.
he broke off
Ah,
or
the
splinter
Claret
group
Order.
north to Shady Creek Run and then started the Tomb Takers.
God.
Oh yeah, the Claret Order. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah, so maybe they didn't know each other as babies, but somebody should still draw it. That'd be
yeah.
cool.
My headcanon is that they knew each other as babies. That is what
um,
I'm going.
but yeah, that was brutal. And then with her coming back and that moment where like her face appeared inside the creature.
Hmm.
Yuck.
Ooh,
Yuck.
yeah. Not the best imagery. Not the best imagery that I like having in my head. But again, they were able to swiftly deal with Kree, putting an end to a very tragic character. Um, but moving on a little bit in this episode, there were a lot of super clutch moments in this episode. Clutch rolls, damage being dealt, ideas, and a whole bunch of stuff. The party was brought their A game this episode. One of the first, well, there are multiple, but one of the clutch moments that came to my mind was Caleb using immovable object on the crest to stop it from being reabsorbed into the city. And it even caught Matt off guard, and Matt was like, damn, you clever bastard. That is a brilliant use of that spell. So I just wanted to highlight that briefly because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I've been I've been sidetracked a little bit into like reading about Dunamancy and Dunamancy spells, and
Mm-hmm.
they're so cool. They're so cool, and like they reflect concepts in like physics and metaphysics, and I just and so I think they're actually quite like personal to Matt, as like a project and as like a concept. And so I can't imagine as a DM having like just like giving that to a player to play with and then having them do something like really cool and that you didn't expect. Like I'm sure he mostly expected it as a attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think that's really really awesome.
Yeah, Caleb always with the 10 million IQ plays. But once all was said and done, Kree was vanquished. They had the crest. They had some time to think about what they wanted to do because they did it. They stopped Kree. They stopped the threshold crest from being put in its place. And so they had a couple ideas. Do we? Well, we need a long rest. So do we talk to Artagan and jump to the Feywild? Which would have been super interesting because you had some thoughts about that before we hit the go live button.
Oh yeah. I want to know I am trying to read what people are saying in chat because I'm really interested in everybody's thoughts. I'm having trouble. But I want to know if everybody else was I was like the parallels, the campaign 1 parallels. And my brain was like because just before they actually did it twice during the end of they did it once when they went to find Artagan um and get help. And then the second time they did it, I think they did it twice because the second time they did it just before the final fight.
Yep, they did it to get some rest before Vecna.
Yeah, because that's when Scanlan made his like second Scanlan, and they did lots of stuff. But the fact that it was going to be Artigan again, and the fact like I was like, yes, this would be so cool. It makes sense that it didn't end up happening. What actually happened was much cooler. But I was like, oh, the parallels. Yeah. The parallels are so interesting. Yeah.
Definitely. I would have been all for a trip to the Feywild, but ultimately they didn't do that. But what they did do, and is super clever, is they plane shifted the actual threshold crest to the plane of fire, the elemental plane of fire, which is super clutch. And I don't know how the heck Lucian's gonna find that one, but again, there's more threshold crests, so Lucian will just have to go find another one. But because this threshold crest is gone, it's what does the party do now? They were successful. They in quotes won. There's no way that the city can get back anytime soon now that the crest is gone. Lucian has to go back to the material plane to find another one. But then how does he get back? He lost his cleric, who may have had access to a plane shift ability. So, what does the party have to do now?
There's not really a time pressure though, right? On Lucian. Like the time
Yeah,
pressure
not really.
we were feeling was getting there before Lucian got there, and now that's that's the time pressure that the Mighty Nine feel. And there was a bit of argument around the Somnovum, but it seems like they're either going to be like decimated or who knows. So really, like, there's not like once, yeah, he's sort of like gotten what he wants, and then he could just like
Yeah.
seems like he could just jump back and actually, I don't know. He's still kind of affected by being in, like, the Nonagon is affected by being inside Lucian, and I don't think he has like plane shift or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll just have to see. I feel like Lucian's in kind of a tricky situation, but his arrogance is obviously blinding him as always, and I feel like he thinks he's on top, especially what happened at the end of the episode. But we'll obviously get to that. What I want to talk about, obviously, before all of that crazy stuff, is the ballsy move to try to use that time crystal, that Dunamancy crystal, to grant everyone a long rest. The crystal that they stole, the crystal that they pillaged from Aor back when they were still snooping around, and thankfully they were successful. But again, Matt did this a couple times this episode. When they were successful, Marisha was like, or someone was like, what would have happened if we weren't successful? And Matt was like, well, that's a post-campaign question. And then at some other point in this episode, he says something about this being the campaign almost being over, or like this is the end of the campaign or whatever. I hate that he keeps doing that. I hate that he keeps doing that because I don't want it to be over yet.
oh dear. Nico, I appreciate that. I hear you. I hear you. Um, but you know, D&D games have a start of the story and an
No,
end of the
I
story.
refuse.
Okay, but hear me out. If Vox Machina never ended, then would you have started watching Critical Role?
Maybe not.
Probably not. Think
Probably
about all that
not.
backlog you would have had to get up.
Yeah.
And so there are people who like have never watched
Yeah.
Critical Role, but watch people talking about it and really want to, and who knows what campaign 3 is going to be.
That's
I
true.
don't know. It could be so
It's
good.
true.
It is sad, and I hope we get it doesn't feel like we've had enough from
Mm-hmm.
like these
Certain
characters,
backstories,
and
yeah.
yeah, but also um like they're gonna come out with backstory like comic books.
That's true. That's true.
So I think that feels like the plan. I wish they were more upfront with us with the plan so that people who are, feeling grief around this ending could like see that, nah, you're gonna get like chunky story. It's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
really good. But on the other hand, like not on the other hand, and um I think it's exciting. I think that the people in Critical Role are incredibly creative,
Yeah.
and incredibly creative people you cannot expect them to just do the same thing
Right.
forever. And so, like, this has been a hard to end this campaign
Mm-hmm.
because of world. And so, like, I think they would be excited to start whatever the next thing is, and it not be tainted by like how hard of a slog like a
Yeah.
big chunk of this campaign was. And so you can see they're thinking about next campaign, and they're thinking
Yeah.
about next characters. It kind of trickles in, and as a player, that absolutely happens. Like
Yeah.
you start to
Definitely.
sort of you're like, yeah, this is good, and I want a good ending for my character, but what about the next character?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know.
But it's interesting that the idea of novels and comics and other types of media coming up to wrap up this story. I could definitely see that actually happening. Like, yes, this could be the final arc, and they end the campaign at level 15, 16 with all of these loose ends. But we also have to keep in mind, like, these loose ends are very one character specific. Like, it's Caleb dealing with the Cerberus. Obviously, the party can help out and stuff, but it's Caleb and Trent, the Cerberus Assembly. It's Beauregard and her past with Xenoth and all that stuff. It's Ford and Ukito and all that stuff. It would be, obviously, we would love to see it play out on screen in their D&D show and on Critical Role, but I could also see it being told. Better is the wrong term, but it can be way more fleshed out and way more character focused if they were told in a novel form or in a comic book format, because then they can really dive into the specific character's emotions and journey through the entire arc. While obviously in a D&D game, you got to incorporate everyone into it, even if your character is in the spotlight. It's best to incorporate everyone. But with novels and comic books, they are very easily to just have it be solely focused on one person, so that way they can fully flesh out and wrap up all the loose ends in a very, very fitting way.
Yeah, the one I think about a lot is Ashley and Yasha, because Ashley talks a lot about how Yasha's character has so much more to her than what has been able to come out thus far. Like, so much has come out, and Ashley is like fully relaxed into the game now. She's 100% in. That's another reason why I'm not scared about this ending, because a campaign where Ashley Johnson is there from the start and locked in for the whole thing, like able to fully, like, completely 100% invest into just being there the whole time. I can't even. I'm so excited. Anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, she has, yeah, as Adam said, she's got this like Bible of research that she did, and like backstory and in-depth stuff. Like, she has parts of her memory she doesn't have, but I'm pretty sure, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, she knows her upbringing. Like, she knows how she grew up and stuff, and then she has a blank, and then she's with the Stormlord.
Yeah.
But like, this means, okay, if the story kept going forward and we kept getting playing the game, we wouldn't get to see Zuala. Like, that's not a thing that would ever happen.
Right.
Comic book, we get that whole story. Yeah. I'm so excited for that. And also the concept, this may not be how it happens, but the concept of Ashley sitting down with whoever that writer is, and like, getting for it to be exactly like how she imagined it. And yeah, I think it's going to be I think they're going to be epic. I'm really excited to see all that extra.
I'm ready for that. So Ashley's book is going to be coming out, and then there's Caleb and Jester's book, I think. Are there comic books? Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, and then we have the Vex and Vax novel.
Yep. Yeppers. But anyways, back to the episode. So we got them teleporting the crystal away. They got their long rest. But it's incredible that they were able to actually make that time crystal thing work. I'm obviously glad they were able to make it work, because they were all in desperate need of a long rest. They were hurting pretty badly. Pretty badly.
Were you like, do you remember when they turned on the Hadron Collider in like in our world, in real life? Do you remember when they turned on the where was it? Oh no, I should know what this is. The big physics thing where they make two atoms go really fast and collide with each other, and then they found the God particle. Do you know what I'm talking
I
about? Am I
don't
too
think
old?
so.
Somebody in chat. Oh my goodness, somebody in chat. Ugh. Anyway, it was the same vibe because the scientists were like, this is going to be fine. There is the potential that will create a black hole that will suck the Earth into the black hole. But that's not going to happen. And then the media went, thank you, Eric CERN. Yeah, the Hadron Collider at CERN. Anyway, nothing bad was ever going to happen. But because they're scientists, they were like, but potentially a black hole. And everyone was
Yeah.
like, this is how we die. And it had, the particle collider. Oh, thank you. I've forgotten all the Higgs boson particle. Yeah. All those people who know what I'm talking about, did it have the same? For me, the whole time I was like, this has the same vibe where the scientist is pretty sure, is almost certain that things will be okay, but also
Yeah.
potentially everything that's ever existed will no longer exist.
It's fine. It's fine. In the name of science. It's all right. Worth it.
Everyone's correcting me. The Hadron Collider. Yeah, thank you. My memory of that is so vague.
Mm.
I have a question for the chat and for you.
Oh, okay.
Why is magic so inherently like queer and gay? Why does it feel so like what is up with that?
Why is magic so gay?
It is. I'm like, they essentially didn't even look at each other, and I was like, this is.
Hey, I felt the tension. I felt the tension in that scene. I think we all felt it. The gay tension between the two librarians.
Yeah. But
I think what they really needed to do was to kiss in that scene to like fully, seal the deal with making sure that the spell worked. Obviously, love is the most powerful magic of all, so I think they really just needed to kiss there. That's just me, though. That's just me.
I mean, I agree. At the same time, so I have like this running thing on my Twitter wherein Liam has this tell that when he's talking to a character that that his character likes, that he's like flirting with, he like rubs his face, and it's a tell, like it's in character but it's also not in character. And anyway, he did that after that spell. I'm like, Caleb, you love this boy, focus. but also I feel like there must be queer theory behind why like magic is just inherently very gay. It's
probably made by two roommates in college. They're like, oh, I got this sick idea called magic. Feel it between us right now. Probably how it all started.
Probably. Sheriff Guzman, is that true or did you make that up? Fun fact about the collider and the hottest temperature ever was recorded in it, and it was 9 million degrees or something around that. Wait,
holy moly.
As in, but it's not appropriate for it to be 9 because that would be weird and creepy. So,
9. I can't believe 9 keeps. It's just been popping up this entire It's fate. It's fate, is what it is.
See Matt's head melt. Matt's whole brain melted when. Well, that was also very cute when Caleb pointed out that like they are the Mighty Nine with the weasel, which means he was counting Essek, which is very cute. But no one really. Liam has these role play moments that sometimes people don't. They're not ignoring him, but he doesn't. He delivers them in a very like. I don't know what the word is, like not underhanded, but in a very quiet way that no one really picks up on what has happened. But he's like, he obviously was like, check it out, like Essek's part of the Mighty Nine. Anyway, once he pointed out that there were 9 beings there, like plus Artigan in the weasel, Matt's brain melted. Matt's brain was like, I hate this campaign. I don't even
I'm done. We're wrapping it up tonight. It's over. Campaign's done. TPK. Yeah, no, it's super interesting, all of these, poetic moments that keep happening. Well, one thing that I also want to talk about that Adam has brought up is Bo meditating and connecting to the city in order to locate Yusa. Very risky. Very, very, very risky considering she already has some eyes, and then becoming like a part of the consciousness of the city. Like she could have just gotten trapped. Like she could have like assimilated into the city if she wasn't careful. Thankfully nothing, too terrible happened. I think if she had failed her saving throw or whatever check was made, she probably would have gotten another eye. But oh geez, high risk for medium reward. I mean, I'm all for saving Yusa, but I don't know, risking potentially losing your sanity and becoming a part of the hive mind just feels pretty risky on Bo's part.
I was gonna say I think there's a potential for people with the eyes to do a lot more than just like move fast and like I think Bo proved that they have actually one potentially they can be found and like taken over by the uh by the minds, but
Yeah.
two, I just think that you can do more than what they're doing. uh you can do a lot of things that you can imagine in this space because you're
Hmm.
essentially in a dream realm essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a really badass moment for Bo. I was just worried that if it had gone wrong, that could have been the end of Bo, or at least things could have gotten much worse for her. But thankfully it was fine, and they were actually able to locate Yusa, which I was kind of surprised. I actually didn't really know what I thought. I didn't think that Yusa was gonna be there, like in his soul form, or his projected self. I thought he was just gonna be his like essence was just gonna be within the city. Um, but I'm glad they were able to locate him. And then another clutch moment, Caleb using banishment to send Yusa back was super big brain.
So smart, so smart.
Because
So
I don't
good.
know what else they could have done. Maybe dispel, because I think Jester talked a little bit about maybe casting dispel magic on it. But banishment, yeah, that's the way to go. The way to do it.
I Yeah, and now, okay, so if everything goes well and nothing crappy has happened with Yusa and having Trent et al in his tower, like if they've just kind of run in, dealt with Caleb and run out,
Hmm.
then hopefully he wakes up and is like, "Oh, this is very bad."
Mm.
And like gets wizards to work together, which doesn't happen. But um like hopefully like they get some sort of, I think they'll get like a clutch from that,
Yeah.
from choosing to save him until waiting and like until like they put some time into saving him, and as a DM I would make that pay off for them, I think.
Hmm.
um but do you think that he's like in Trent jail or something? I don't know. It feels.
Uh, maybe, but I feel like Trent is just so hyper fixated on Caleb that he probably doesn't even care about Yusa. May not even have registered that Yusa was even like a factor, even there. So I would like to think that Yusa is fine. Um, okay, so Adam's saying no Wentworth confirmed that they left shortly after. Okay, so yeah,
Oh,
Yusa's
awesome!
Yusa's
Thank you.
probably fine. Yeah.
Whew,
Yes.
that's gonna make me feel better all week, Adam. I appreciate that so much. I was very worried.
Yeah. So thank goodness. Thank goodness that our dumbass gold dragon is is okay. Okay. That's the best news I've heard all day. Um, but moving on again a little bit. So Bo becoming a part of the High Mind did not go without consequence, as they were spotted by one of the Somnovum, and even pursued by them. This Somnovum revealed himself to be Gaudius, who is a little a bit interesting, to say the least. This was one of the Somnovum that Ira had talked about, saying that they wanted oblivion. Now, obviously, what we heard from Gaudius, it doesn't necessarily sound like oblivion, but it still don't sound good. Talking about, loving everything and everyone and wanting to bring it all together into one being, one hive mind, is definitely not something I would consider a good thing. Probably.
I'm fully in love with this story. Like, I'm fully like, the feelings that I feel for this, for what Matt's doing with this. So, like, okay, because in my head, I'm like, okay, and I know we already talked about it, but this is the manifestation of that gray area. So Caleb wanted to bring his parents back because he killed them, which, goes through to like, maybe people just shouldn't die. Maybe we should keep people alive forever. And then that's kind of what that part of the Somnovan is like getting at, is like, no, we all should like be one together and just exist into oblivion, like forever, as this big ball of loving. Oh, it's going to be, and it's like, that being one part of the gray of like, and then there's just the want of like the fear of dying and not wanting to die, which is like the first, was that Ira? No, the first
Tamore.
being, was like scared,
Yeah.
like didn't want
they just wanted to go home. They just wanted to, go back to the way things were, so it seemed.
Yeah, and then, and it feels like all of them, but the one, I don't know, it seems like the one that wants oblivion potentially wants to end the it's really interesting. Like before stream, you were talking about how originally it felt like they were potentially a hive mind, but they're really not. They disagree.
Yeah, because what's interesting is all of these different emotions obviously want different things because of their emotion. And Gaudius even said, I think I have it written down here. Where is it? We all have different ideas when we are apart. So yes, so obviously they all have their ideas, but then when we are apart implies that when they're together, they have a singular goal in mind, which again makes me feel like there was never Nein Somnovum. It was one person who got split up in this psychic storm, and all of their different emotions, their psyche was completely fragmented and manifested into very strong primal emotions that now all have, minds of their own, but they're still able to come together to form that one, unified person. That's still what I think, but I also subscribe to the idea that they were all individuals, but due to the psychic storm, their identities were completely erased, and all that's left was their, prime emotion that they held when they were still alive, or still cognizant of who they were.
I think your idea works, even if they are separate individuals, because of the concept of like groupthink.
Yeah.
Like separately, when they get time apart and can shift to a different part of the city, they start to not think more clearly, but like they start to get like a bit of their own personality back, and whatever was like the original reason that they wanted to do this experiment in the first place. And then when they're like all together, they have groupthink, and it's just like that singular thought of like making a new plane of existence. But yeah, I don't know. I'm confused about if they want to make a new plane of existence, why that means going back to Exandria. I don't really understand.
Yeah, I don't. It's sounding like maybe they don't want to go back to Exandria, because they talked about, Gaudius mentioned that the Somnovum have become dreams. They have become this limitless, their manifestations are now limitless, is what it seems like they can do now. Because Gaudius said that they were able to create a proto realm, which is a new plane of existence. So it's possible, because they were the only ones who knew of this thing existing. So obviously, when Lucian was tasked to bring these threshold crests, Lucian might not have known what this proto realm was, and so he's like, okay, they probably need these threshold crests so they can come back to Exandria to consume everything. But what they might need the threshold crest for is so they can bamf into this proto realm instead.
Or maybe the Nonagon needs the threshold crest, but the Somnovum, it's not the Sum, like it's because we're talking about how when one mind like splits off, they get more clarity of what they want, and so, which we see by the end of this, like the Nonagon is not not happy with the rest of them, like so potentially, yeah, I'm not, because okay, am I right in thinking that the bodies in capsules in Aor are the minds that are dreaming in the city? Do we have that connection, or am I making that up?
Say that last part again.
All the bodies that are in capsules in Aor are the minds that are in this, are the minds that are dreaming in the city. So they've made those beings live forever. Their bodies are still there, but they're detached, and they're because what would happen if they were on the same plane of existence? Would those minds just go back in those bodies? What is happening? I don't know. No, they were not the same. Okay, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Lynn.
Gotcha.
That's a separate thing. Okay. Separate, but maybe part of it. Oh, that was like the fail safe, because if something bad was happening in the city.
Yeah.
I don't know. Matt specifically said that they could not make the connection.
Gotcha.
I don't know. There's so I've been lost. I love this show, but I've been lost for months now.
It's been a difficult follow. But so the idea of this proto realm. So we know that the Aorians were wanting to develop a weapon against the gods. Now, how the heck do you kill a god? Can't really kill a god. So what's the next best thing you can do? Take away the agency they have over your existence. Okay, how do we do that? That brings up a whole nother series of questions. You can't kill them. You don't know how to take away agency. Well, what if we create our own realm of existence and become, pseudo gods ourselves? And so that's where the idea of, this proto realm comes into play. They were able to create their own plane of existence, possibly hidden, or a plane of existence where the gods have no power in. They can't even, break through the veil or whatever it is. So that's probably what this proto realm's maybe initial purpose was a way to combat the gods in a neutral sense. So they can't kill them, so let's just create a new home for ourselves. But now that they've gone through this psychic storm, and obviously all of this corruption has happened, now they might turn this proto realm into something a little bit more nefarious, perhaps, wanting to. Well, it seems like they're on like a righteous path almost. They think they're on the path to save humanity from the gods' ire or whatever. And so in their minds, perhaps wanting to go back to Exandria to absorb all of the denizens of the material plane, they think they're saving them. It's like, all right, everyone hop in. We're going to go to this proto realm, so we're all safe from the gods. But in reality, they're so blinded by their own corruption that they don't realize that what they're doing is actually awful. Which I think some of the emotions of the Somnovan are starting to realize, perhaps. I don't even know if that tangent made any sense. I was kind of just talking.
No, it made a lot of sense. I think I think that confusion is very much there, and the confusion of like they think that their path is righteous. They think that they're essentially just
Mhm.
seeking like an end to death, essentially.
Mhm.
Um Somebody in the chat pointed out that the Raven Queen killed the god. So,
Oh.
um, it on the wiki it says the Raven Queen was originally a mortal mage who lived during the age of Arcanum. What? Okay, she developed rights that allowed her to destroy the previous god of death and take his place, becoming the first and only mortal to achieve godhood.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Uh, yeah.
Oh, damn.
So what? It doesn't say how. Uh,
Hmm. Age of Arc. That was even before Aeorion's time, right? Aeor's time, maybe. Age of
hang
Arcanum.
on, hang on. We're going deep now. We're doing deep now.
Oh, we're going down the
Second
rabbit hole
age.
today.
Uh, I thought that was.
Oh, Aeor's from the Age of Arcanum.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh
say no.
shit.
That's yeah. That's it. That's it. What? Okay. Well, that's cool. I
Huh.
don't know what that means, but somebody can. That means something, right?
Yeah, someone will noodle it out for us. Someone
Yeah.
will get down to it. But anyways, so
Sorry.
the Somnovum lay out all of their plans. And again, like when they were all together as one and they were talking about what they wanted, none of it sounded like inherently evil. Like they had their
No.
goals, they wanted to create their own realm, and now they're able to do whatever they want. All of their dreams can become a reality now. Never once did they say we want to destroy the world, we want to ascend to godhood, we want power, we want this, we want that. They were just like they were very upfront. We're like we created our own realm and now we're able to create whatever we want within this realm. Nothing sounded like terrible. Like I was listening to him and I was like, okay, so you're not actually the bad guys. I mean, some of you are a little sketchy with what you want to do. You know, assimilating everyone out of love is kind of sus. Um, but overall, what they initially wanted, it doesn't sound all that bad. I don't know. What do you think?
Um, last week I had. Okay, so spoilers for The Good Place. Big spoilers for The Good Place. Pause it. I'll wave my hand when I've stopped talking. But like, so when they work out, they can just stay in heaven and do whatever they want and just live forever at the end of The Good Place. Eventually, what they want is an end. Like they want the fun of that isn't good unless they have a full stop. And it felt very much like that. Like they like I don't know. There's just something inherently within us that we understand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially for like Clay, for Caduceus, there's an inherent thing where it's like, no, there should be like if we think that birth is good, we also have to think that death is good, and it's not good when it's untimely, but when it's timely,
Yeah.
there's like there's a goodness there, and that's the natural order of things,
Mm-hmm.
and that natural order is important. And there are people like that don't believe that, but when the mortals show up to a thing that's immortal, like the
Yeah.
city, and just look at it and see the eldritch horror that has been created
Yeah.
by a group of
Yeah.
things that just won't die, it's sort of you look at that and be like, not that though. Like that's obviously bad.
Right. Yeah. it's the whole idea of, you fear what you don't understand. Um, but again, I feel like in this case, you're right to fear what you don't understand, because what we don't understand is they are creating new realities. They are manifesting their dreams, and because they are so far corrupted, we can only begin to imagine how messed up some of these manifestations might end up being. So while what they want may be justified in their eyes and maybe not necessarily evil, ultimately, for, thinking of the bigger picture and all of humanity and creation, it's a bit terrifying what they might be capable of.
Yeah, Justice Jolene 4, who I think I know who that is, is doing the thing that happens in my brain a lot while watching Critical Role and also playing D&D in general. Because of the alignment chart, you end up like trying to work out in your own brain how you feel about the concept of evil, like in general. And like you're right. All evil people feel justified. Like everybody has, yeah, essentially there are not a lot of situations where somebody is like, I'm just going to be bad for the sake of being bad.
Yeah.
Normally there's a rationale
Yeah.
around why, and sometimes that like becomes a kind of madness, like the Somnovum have become. Yeah, but in the end, like the Mighty Nine are just gonna have to decide, like, is this a type of life? Is this just a new form of only recently discovered like artificial, the robot. I don't remember what type
Yeah.
of life they call that. Um, but essentially a form of life that previously they wouldn't have considered to be like sentient and
Right.
living. And now this is another form of life. And just because it looks alien and feels bad, does that mean like, it shouldn't exist just because, like, to
Yeah,
them,
exactly.
yeah.
It's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside that matters.
I don't know, at least one of the Subnovan is full of love and just wants everybody
Yeah,
to.
they just want to bring everyone very, very close together. Just very, very close.
That's all I want. I think that's a
Yeah,
beautiful
hey, yeah.
dream.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, all right, Gaudius, you know what? We're subscribing to go. Well, here's the thing. I don't think any of the Somnovam are gonna, live long enough to see any of their aspirations and dreams manifest, as, in the middle of their meeting, the Mighty Nine, the Somnovan, they were rudely interrupted by our very own Nonagon, Lucian, who, carrying with them, has a dozen Intuit charges in tow. Now, I can't remember. I feel like maybe Alana and I, and maybe some people in chat, had just tossed out a comment like, what if Lucian like betrays the Somnovum? Like, what if Lucian just grabs the power for himself? But I don't think we fully subscribed to the idea that Lucian was going to just outright betray the Somnovum. It was more of just like what if he does that? Oh, that would be so crazy. Oh, Lucian, you rascal, you doing something silly like that. But no, Lucian straight up fucking cooed the Somnovum. Took him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
That might be the coolest NPC that has ever he's just so smooth and cool.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. He made a chair, he made a flesh chair, and then just
Yeah.
like
Oh,
sat back in it.
it was just it was a badass scene too, because before, Lucian was pretty reserved. Lucian and Molly have always been very flashy and stuff. But Lucian before seemed to be very reserved and calculated and sparing with the abilities he was showing. Only doing what he needed to do when he saw that it was necessary. But now he was flaunting his abilities, creating that throne, laughing in the face of the Nine and the Somnovum, as he knew that he couldn't be stopped. So it's very clear that Lucien feels like he is in the, the hot seat right now. He is in full control of the situation, and he's totally relaxed. He is able to, showboat a little bit with what he's able to do. And I feel like it's bad news for everyone, because the laughter that Lucien had, towards the end of the episode, was the laughter of, a madman. And Lucien didn't really strike me as a madman. Arrogant, yes, and an asshole, yes, but not insane.
I think it was mad as in mania, as opposed to mad as in
Yeah,
like, I think
that.
it's things are finally like,
yeah,
his plan is coming into alignment, and it's more like
that makes sense,
elation, and like, yeah, absolutely, like manic excited. But I wonder if he's protected a bit by having like corporeal isn't right, because the others are corporeal, but like his own body separate from the flesh mess. I wonder if he needs to like injure the rest of the minds, otherwise he'll start to sort of fall back into that hive mind. Like, how earlier we were sort of theorizing that the more separation they get, the more sort of single-minded, and they can think for themselves a bit. And then, I wonder if there's a danger that if they kill him before they've destroyed the city, or before they've like, killed a lot of the Somnovum, if like that mind will just get sucked back into the into that sort of single brain. I don't know, but it does kind of feel like he's the only one that like wants them to go back to Exandria.
Oh yeah, I could see that. But first we were like, well, we were always like, what does Lucien want? But our main thing was like, what does the Somnovum want to do? Like, why do they want to come back to Exandria and all that? And so this whole time it could have just been Lucien that wanted to come back. But now again, it's just brought up again, like, what the heck does Lucien want from this? Obviously, he thinks he can absorb their power, or maybe not absorb the power, but have the power that they had, and they're able to, manifest their dreams and make them become a reality. So it's possible that's just what Lucien wants. But does he want to share that with everyone else, and that's why he wants to go back? Like, why is he keeping the Mighty Nine alive? Why did he give them a chance to run away when he was letting the Intuit charges go off? It could just be that part of Molly that's still there that, loves the party and doesn't want to see them dead. But if it's not, what purpose does Lucien have keeping the party alive? This is why I feel like Lucien isn't like evil. Otherwise he would have just done away with the party, because why the heck did they need to still be alive? So it feels like what Lucien wants to do, or what he thinks, what he wants to do, and what he thinks is good, isn't actually good, but he wants to keep them alive because he thinks it's good, if that makes any sense. But it's so... I wasn't expecting the double cross to happen in this way, because now I have no idea what's going to happen, because not even the party knows what's going to happen, because after they ran away, they're like, what do we do now? The Somnovum are likely destroyed. They might still be alive, but, a dozen Intuit charges all going off, 10d10, each of them doing that. What's that, like, over like 1,000 damage, like 500 damage average psychic damage? That's even resisted to 250 psychic damage. That is a hefty chunk. They are at the very least going to be very shattered, even more so than they already are. So did they just leave? Like, do they try to stop Lucien?
I don't know,
what did they
and like
do?
we said at the start, he doesn't know that they've gotten rid of the um
Yeah, that's also true. Oh,
what is it
what
called?
do I have?
The
The
crest
threshold
that
crest. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the threshold crest that Kree had. So okay, so I sort of in my head I subscribe to the idea that there isn't really a being called Molly. Like Molly is just the name that Lucian had while he didn't have his memories.
Hmm.
And like Molly's not like it's complicated because I really do appreciate that for some people and for me the sort of arc of Molly was really cathartic in regards to
Yeah.
like grief, and we don't
Hmm.
a lot of people don't actually want Molly to come back because that's not like realistic of how grief works, and it's a full stop is better. I see that side.
Yeah.
However, I do think that Molly wasn't like that's my husband. Molly wasn't like an individual entity, but was is just Lucian, but Lucian without his memories. And
Hmm.
so, um, can you turn off your music?
I
Cause
don't hear anything.
oh, you don't hear anything?
No.
Okay. It was it's Lizzo. Um, but I think that I'm confused about where the nonagon fits in then. Because I
Hmm.
think Lucian is a person that existed
Yeah.
and then got like essentially um like possessed by reading a book, got possessed by the nonagon,
Hmm.
or some or through like a ritual got possessed by the nonagon. And so the nonagon is like an actual brain, an actual entity from Aor that's inside his brain, but he's still Lucian, right? And
Yeah.
then he forgot all of that
Hmm.
and was Molly, still had the nonagon in his brain,
Yeah.
but that was like dormant,
Hmm.
died, was resurrected, was Lucian and the nonagon again, and kind of forgot that part where he like forgot his memories again, but is starting to remember him, which is why I think he's being kind of dumb with the Mighty Nine
Mm.
and not just destroying them,
Yeah.
which he should have done. And Kree knew that, like he was strong enough to do that
Right.
and should have done that, but has this like emotional connection to them,
Right.
and so is undermining his own
Hmm.
plan by having them around. Um,
But then wouldn't you think that because he's having these conflicting emotions that he would just want to kill them so that he doesn't have them anymore? So it's just so interesting that he keeps them alive.
yeah, and he doesn't seem like he doesn't se like, based on what happened to Kree, he doesn't
Yeah.
mind just, like, killing for the sake of killing, well, not but, like, using people
Yeah.
and just his he doesn't have a high price on,
S-
like, life in
So
general.
do you think that he actually needs the party for something if he's keeping them alive? Like sure he might be keeping them alive because of his feelings towards them because of Molly. Um, but do you think maybe he needs them to serve another purpose? Perhaps.
It really depends what the eyes are doing, like, the
Yeah.
physical eyes on the bodies, because if though like, because it's they seem like a manifestation of the Somnovum, but can once the somnovum is like weak enough,
Hmm.
can Lucian, like, you know how with the others he could like speak through all of them at the same time, or
Yeah.
like it seemed like he had a bit of control
Hmm.
over his team.
Hmm.
I wonder if essentially they're going to have to roll to see if he can
Mm.
be in their brains and
Yeah.
like controlling them. I don't know. It's all very odd. And are the rules of the like eyes different on this plane of existence
Right.
versus I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know anything. Why are you even asking me questions, Nico? I don't know.
I'm just,
I don't know.
I'm just here to, provoke some interesting thought trains. Thought trains? Sure. Yeah, trains of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, thought trains. Thought trains are
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. We're going on a trip. our favorite rocket ship. Um, I really don't know what. I think they need to get out of there and reevaluate what they need to do. And that's also why I feel like, so this goes back to, Matt keeps saying, final arc of the campaign wrap up, final, this is the final chapter. This could just be the pausing point for this, for Lucian right here. They bamf out, reevaluate what they want to do, and then months pass, they go off doing their own stuff. They deal with Trent and the Surface Assembly, they deal with Bo and what's going on with there, maybe even Ukatoa is brought back up into it, and then a few months time, knock knock knock, Lucian's back, with the full power of the Cognosa and all of the things he wants to do, and then that's when everything gets wrapped up again. That could be how this plays out. This, if the party leaves here, this could be the pausing point for Lucian's story arc until they do all their other stuff, and then it picks up again.
I don't know. I feel like there's a meta thing happening with the cast, and like having this storyline be during COVID, wherein I don't think that they will I don't think that they have. I think that they're very like one track minded, and they're forgetting things, and they're like, this is the goal, and it needs to be, and like it feels very much like this is the goal, this is the thing we're gonna do. We're all gonna get behind it and do it. And I don't think even if Matt offered them an out, I don't think they would take it. Like I think it's the switch has switched essentially. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Even if it isn't like a big bad, like it is a big bad, but even if it's like that gray, I still think they're like, no, this is we're gonna take this down, and because we can, and because this has been the goal this whole time, and it would be unsatisfying for them not to, as like players. Yeah, but I think it's interesting. It's really odd to not really have a full understanding. I think a lot of times when you're like watching a TV show, and there's probably real words for these narrative devices I'm about to say, but I don't really know them. When you're watching a TV show, often you know more than the characters. So like, for example, when you're watching like a horror or something, or a thriller, like you've seen the killer, or you've as the viewer, you know more, which is why you're a bit scared, because you know you know a little bit of what's going to happen, ahead of time a bit. We don't have that with this. Like, we know exactly what the cast know, and it's really weird. It like bugs my brain so much, because the confusion that we have, I don't think is because of poor watching. Like, we have this like hive mind in the chat that is similarly confused about the things that we're confused about. And also you and I like watch this on a meta level, making clips of it. Like if anyone was going to be able to like fully digest the story, it would be like some of us. But there are these gaps, and I think that's on purpose, and it's really interesting because normally when you're like watching media, you get spoon-fed essentially the story, and this way around we're just as lost, and that's the Mighty Nine.
That's one of the beauties of D&D storytelling, is there is no meta knowledge you can get to figure out what's happening. You're in it, and what happens. There's no trying to figure out what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, you can theorize and stuff, but yeah, we don't get a glimpse at that at the behind the scenes and what's really going on and all that stuff. So yeah, it's one of the appealing things about this form of storytelling, and I'm glad that as an audience we get to experience it firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely the same. Like it feels a lot more like life in that way where
Yeah,
you don't get like the soliloquy of the baddie. Like we haven't except for times when they've rolled insight or they've like
right.
spied on them, we
Hmm.
haven't seen like Lucian's inner world or little cutaways of like, if this was a movie, you'd have like little cutaways of he and Cream meeting
Right.
each other, or little cutaways um of like what he thinks about the Somnovum. But we don't have any of that because in real life you don't have
Hmm.
any of that.
And what's interesting that you bring that up is that's one of the points that Matt made when in one of the interviews for the animated Vox Machina series, because he was like, with an animated show, we can have those moments where we cut away to the villains and we get to see their conversations that the party and the audience didn't get to see when the game was actually going on. So it's like we get new little pieces of lore, about maybe that goes more into what their motives were, things that were going on, the trials and tribulations that the villains went through trying to get some of this stuff done. So it's going to be really cool to see, the behind the scenes conversations that the Whispered One and Delilah Briarwood had, in the very early stages of their, relationship. Um, so yeah, it's super interesting. It's super interesting, and a lot of these questions can be asked in the post campaign wrap up whenever they have that. So definitely definitely interested for all that stuff. We can actually get definitive answers for some of these very wild questions that are constantly brought up. So I guess that is one thing to look forward to when the campaign ends, is the big wrap up. I feel like this one's going to be way longer than the campaign 1 wrap up.
I feel like they're gonna need one for each character, like
I
and
know,
it,
yeah. Every PC and NPC
yeah,
they need to go into a deep dive into.
yeah. Yes, Matthew Mercer. What is the second moon? What is
I
ruins?
know, like there's still all that stuff. Oh my
I
god.
I
It's just
hadn't
gonna be
forgotten.
campaign 3. It's gonna be campaign 3 stuff. Oh, but I want it now. I want it in this campaign. But I don't think we're gonna get it. I don't think we're gonna get it. I think a lot of people have been saying, Matt's trolling and stuff, but with what we talked about earlier and using novels and comics as a different medium to tell the remaining stories, it does feel like this actually is the last story arc.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It's too epic. You can't like
Hmm.
what? Where do you go from? Where do you go
Yeah.
from giant sentient
Yeah.
astral
And like
city
and
of
like the
flesh?
emotional pull that this has too, because Lucian was a good friend of theirs. Like how do you create another villain or another scenario that has the emotional impact of what is happening in this arc?
Yeah,
And it would just be exhausting for them to, if something is greater than this, because we had all of the heartfelt moments before they left their families and stuff, Yeza and Beth, and their talk about like, all right, what do we do if someone dies? Like, they were like checking in on each other, like, all right, if is there anything you want us to do if you pass? Like, they've done all of the emotional setup they needed for this arc to have the emotional weight that it has. It would just be exhausting and almost redundant to have them do it again if a greater threat, came out.
yeah. I'm very interested in the psychology of the critter fandom in general, trying to deal with the fact that um I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at anyone. I
You're
just
laughing at our suffering.
I'm not. I'm not.
No, yeah, no, I know, I know,
100% I'm
I know.
not. Because I feel I don't want it to end either. Like I don't want it to end either. But it's really psychologically really interesting. People being like, don't you dare, Matthew, how
Right.
dare you? And
I
it's
no, I
like,
know.
guys,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like like this happens. It's going to be its stories have a beginning and a middle and an end, and if they don't, um it doesn't go well for the story. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
work. You need the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's not like a series that runs for 50 years.
Right.
Critical Role isn't like Doctor Who. And also, like, it's important for people to remember that this show, because of how long the episodes are, has run for longer than essentially any show you can think of.
Yeah.
Because, like, Simpsons are 20-minute episodes. Critical Role is longer than The Simpsons. Like,
Wait, is it
it's so.
actually?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Holy shit.
Derriman on Twitter has like an ongoing like counter where people go, what about Frasier? What about this? What about this? There's one, I think, Days of Our Lives. It's not longer than, maybe.
Uh,
There's like a couple that it's not, but it's longer than Doctor Who. It's longer than, because all of those episodes are really short and weekly, and so anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot of story, and it's a lot to make,
it is.
and yeah, and it's exciting to think about what could change for campaign 3,
Mhm.
if there is a campaign 3.
I think there's going to be a campaign 3. What I don't think there's going to be a campaign 4. I think campaign 3 will be their last one, and then they'll pass on the torch to a new like generation.
I think that's what they want. In
Yeah,
in Matt's interview with Phil,
Phil DeFranco. Yeah,
thank you, Philip DeFranco. Yeah, he was like, they do dream about it one day being just them again
yeah.
at the table, and not. And I really respect that. And like, the thing is, that's when things are really healthy. It's healthy when like an organization has the exit strategy. It's healthy when
Hmm.
like it's unhealthy when you just latch on and suck something for all it's worth. It's healthy for things to have like a succession plan,
Yeah.
essentially, where they don't assume that they're going to be the best people to be in front. Like, the other day I was thinking about how young the audience is. Like,
Hmm.
I put out a tweet a little while ago, and please tweet me if you're one of these people, but I want to know if there are any like the women who watch this show who are like 40 and above, because I know that they are out there, but I don't see them. Like,
Yeah.
they're kind of not around, but there are heaps of like 15, 16, 17 year olds watching this show,
Yeah.
and like the cast are now very getting like older and older, and so like
Hmm.
there's a there's a potential for a story to be told for that audience,
Yeah.
or for like not as young, but like younger than what the
Right.
cast are. Yeah, I don't know. There are lots of things, but I appreciate that they're thinking, and that they, I hope, have like, they seem smart enough. Well, not smart enough, that's inappropriate to say. They seem switched on about like their organization enough to have like, how do we, what's the succession plan? How do
Hmm.
we like bring other people in? How do we train other people up and have like this way of storytelling to continue,
Hmm.
but it not be centered on us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
look, everyone's
Yeah,
ages.
we got some youngins. We got some youngins in the chat. Look at all these babies. Laura is gonna be 40. No. Laura, it's impossible for Laura to age anymore. Impossible. Yeah, we
Hey,
got some
y'all.
babies. Oh, but no, I'm excited to see what Critical Role and the cast and crew have in store for us. Tomorrow, next week, the month, years, decades, in the future. Critical Role is here to stay, and I can't wait to see what they're able what they're able to do, because
I
they
mean,
pretty much have total freedom,
yeah. Yeah.
more or
Who knows
less.
how long once if the sorry, the animation has already been picked up
Yeah,
by Amazon.
yeah,
So um who knows what that means if people, it could crash, like potentially it doesn't
it
get an
could.
audience
Yeah.
beyond uh critters, but if it's good and it gets
Hmm.
picked up, who knows if there'll be like a Mighty Nine series, like it's not going anywhere fast.
No.
Like
Yeah.
every but it is really exciting, uh this wave that it's been on, and also like the fact that it's been part of this wave of all these other shows that
Hmm.
exist now. And um I don't know, there's just, and even the fact that we also like, you know, stream a D&D show, that's so
Yeah.
weird. Like
Hmm.
that was not something that, you know, would have ever happened. And so
Yeah. No, Critical Role
um
has brought together so many different lives, communities, and now we're all intertwined because of, Critical Role, and it's really amazing to see.
yeah, it's so cool. I occasionally, I do you do this occasionally watching Critical Role? I just have this moment where I'm like, I'm spending a bunch of time watching people play D&D. Like
Uh-huh.
this is very cool. Like this is
Yeah.
this is I can't believe this is
But now,
allowed. It
like,
feels not
it's
allowed.
what's interesting is that's what that for me, like, that's what it started out as. Like, I'm hanging out watching just a bunch of nerdy ass voice actors play D&D, but it's evolved into something much more than that, because now I'm watching a bunch of nerdy ass voice actors play Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of other people that share like a passion for storytelling and like the wholesome vibes and just the amazing culture and community that has, been created because of Critical Role. Because now I watch it so I can talk about it with my friends, with you guys. Now I watch it because it's allowed me to create, a community that is, in support of Critical Role and all that stuff. It's allowed us to create our channels and stuff. So it's what started out as just, simply watching a show that you enjoyed has now turned into this just amazing tapestry of all of these different, incredible things. So it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome what
It's
it's become.
I agree. And like fandom deeply has its drawbacks, and um Critical Role isn't the Critical Role fandom is not immune to, like, I don't know, all of the things that happen. Like there are critters that are racist and homophobic,
Hmm.
etc., etc. But I agree wholeheartedly with your sentiment. Just the other day on my YouTube, I got emotional,
Hmm.
and in my community section, I wrote a post where I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, because like I've been depressed before,
Hmm.
and I'm not at the moment, thank goodness. But just being allowed to like something, like just
Yeah.
enjoying something, and then not only that, but like stepping into a space where you're like, oh, all these other people are unironically enjoying this thing
Yep.
as
Yep.
well. Like the first video I ever made was like, I made it just because I wanted to see it, not
Hmm.
and and put it on YouTube,
Right.
not really for anyone to see it, but I just wanted to see it. And like just from there, just being like, oh, like people have like similar want to think about the similar meta that I want to think
Yeah.
about, and people want to like, um, you know, people want to think about the nature of storytelling, and but also then just want to like ship everything, in the show, which is
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
what I want to do. And having that, just having a group of people liking things, and building each other up, and like recently joining TikTok and watching the huge amount of cosplayers that
Oh yeah.
put, like, oh, the way that Taliesin has trolled cosplayers with all of his characters ever, incredible.
Oh yeah.
His costumes, his like characters are so complex. Um but just the fact that they're unironically just enjoying that,
Yeah.
and Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly that like
Hmm.
you start watching the show because you're like, oh, this is pretty interesting, and then it's just the community of people
Hmm.
like, you know, I don't know about anyone else, but I watch the show with Twitter up to see what other people are saying, but also
Hmm.
to see the art that immediately
Oh,
comes
it's
in. And
insane. It's insane what
um
these artists are able to do.
I remember either John Green or Hank Green has a video where people were being annoyed at people who were excited for the World Cup, the soccer World
Hmm.
Cup. And I think it was Hank Green or me. I don't remember which one it was, but one of them was like, the thing is that you're saying that sport has no meaning, but nothing really has meaning unless we give it meaning. And
Yeah,
so like you're allowed to just enjoy things and like give give meaning to whatever it is you want to. And somebody was making that connection in chat, and I saw somebody on Twitter making that connection that like this must feel what it feels like to be really into a team, like
hmm,
a sporting team or something, where it
yeah,
becomes something that's so much a part of your life that you pass it down, you know,
yeah.
generations. And like people get baby onesies that are like
Yeah,
Critical Role baby onesies, and like deck their kids out in Critical Role. Like this must be what this like camaraderie feels like, and there is absolutely drawbacks to that and things that everyone needs to stay like cognizant of. But there's also a lot of like camaraderie and found family. And I could speak
exactly.
about this particular part of Critical Role for forever, Nico. It's my favorite
Oh,
thing.
I know. It could be a whole podcast. But no, I agree with it all, and I am thankful every single day, every minute that passes, that I'm so thankful that I'm a part of this community, and that it's still growing, and there's still so much more to see. Definitely happy to be here.
Yeah,
But
it's cool.
with all that being said, do we have any other closing thoughts, feelings, emotions going back to the episode? I just have limitless questions, but ultimately I feel like the Mighty Nine should probably jump ship and head out. I think. I don't know.
Yeah. There's not really foil hat theories because of how many questions there are. Like, there's not really the ability to like grab onto anything. I think because I have so many questions about really serious parts of the plot and like motivations of
Hmm.
the Nonagon and Lucian and what's gonna happen. Mostly, I just have Shadowgast thoughts.
Yep. Head empty,
Head
only shadow gassed.
It's more like
Yep.
head so incredibly full, and the only thing that rises to the
Ooh,
surface
yeah. Yep.
is like those two wizards. And
Hmm.
I don't know this sickness, but I appreciate that I'm not the only one.
Yep.
Happy Shadowgust week to all who celebrate.
Yes. Always fighting for Shadowgast. Unfortunately, we will not be doing fan art this week. Sorry about that, folks. Tier list. I'd probably put this one like high A. I'd probably put this one on the high A for the tier list. I
It's
think it
pretty
was it
good.
was very good.
It
Very
had
good.
time travel, like
True.
that
True.
went well and they rolled a combined 40. Essex
Whew.
rolled a natural
Yeah.
20. Um, to the point where it was funny
They should
because
have kissed.
was it
If they kissed, it would have been an S.
they did they wizard kissed with
That's
time
true.
energy.
That's true.
um I think it was at the start of this week where Matt was again laughing at the fact that there were people again saying that this show is scripted. And I feel like the people who say that this show is scripted don't play D&D,
No.
because this kind of like narrative connections that happen
Mm-hmm.
also weirdly happen when you're playing your own
True.
game. And the fact that the dice know when it's narratively appropriate to hit that natural 20,
Ooh.
yes, love
So
it.
good. So
Love it when
good.
the dice ship it, guys. Very
Oh,
pro that.
even the dice want Shadow Gas to happen. And maybe we'll get shadow guests next week, and there's only one way to find out, and that is to simply wait, unfortunately. But if that's all of the thoughts, feelings, emotions that we have, we can go ahead and call this episode a wrap. I would just like to absolutely thank everyone who joined us in chat today, as well as Kierly. Thank you for joining us. It is always a pleasure to have you, and you are always welcome on here. It is wonderful to pick your brain and get all of your wonderful insight into the show and stuff.
So many thoughts.
Always head full of thoughts. But yeah, thank you all so much to those of you who tuned in live and interacted with us in the live chat, and thank you to everyone who's going to be watching this on the YouTube upload or in podcast form like on Spotify or Anchor or wherever else this show might find itself. We appreciate you all, and I'm so happy that you're all here to share in the discussion with us. And so, as always, don't forget to love each other, but most importantly, do not forget to love yourself. That is the most important, because you deserve it. You are worthy of love. So please take care of yourself, drink water, get some rest, eat some food. You have earned it. So, all that being said, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your morning, day, evening, wherever you may be on this glorious earth. See you all very soon. Bye, everyone.